Hello everyone, thanks for joining me today. I'm Jan Clothier of Thinking Stamping and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in New Zealand. And today I thought I'd share with you how I made this card, which I made for the Around the World on Wednesday Inspiration Hop. Goes live on the second Wednesday of every month, and this time we had a colour challenge. We had an inspiration photo of some fall leaves against a blue sky with the Eiffel Tower, and this is what I've made of it. And I have chosen to use these beautiful things, the Abundant Beauty Decorative Masks. Now, I made a video 2 or 3 weeks ago that showed you this card, which is made with the Abundant Beauty set. And I showed you then these four masks which go together to make the beautiful sunflowers. But also lurking in that set, there are some other things. There's this beautiful little houndstooth background, there's a snowflake, and for our purposes, there is this beautiful little stencil that's full of different leaves and little acorns and things like that. And that's what I've used as the basis for this card. So obviously to make it, if you choose to make it along with me or make it some other time, you are going to need those Abundant Beauty Decorative Masks from the 2023 mini catalogue, the September to December, the Christmas catalogue. Okay, so that's what you need for that. Now, in terms of card, it's actually, because it's stenciled, it's actually very light on resources. So I've used for my base Balmy Blue. And it is, for me, my standard size card base. So it's 21 centimetres, or the width of an A4 card, scored at 10.5, and I've cut it at 14.8 centimetres in height. I'm just going to run that over there to smooth that edge. Right, in addition to that, I have got 2 pieces of Cajun Craze, which are half a centimetre smaller than the card front. So they are 10 by 14.3. If you're dealing in metrics and you're using your, an imperial, and you're using your standard size card base, then just reduce by about 1/4 inch. And then inside those, I've got pieces of basic white, which are half a centimetre smaller again, or 1/4 inch smaller again. So those are 9.5 by 13.8. And the reason that I've got 2 sets of them is because one set I'm going to use for the inside of the card. So I'll pop those away for now because we don't need them. In addition, I've used some beautiful linen thread. I'm almost running out, going to have to get some more of that. And I have used, because obviously the masks don't have sentiments, a sentiment set. And the set that I've used for this is something fancy. Honestly, you could make this any sentiment you like, but I happen to need a little store of sympathy cards. So I've done with deepest sympathy, but as you say, any occasion you could use. And then I used the matching dies, and the die that I used for this one is the smallest of those nested labels with the curly edge, and I stamped it in Cajun Craze. I've already done it there, ready for when we need it. Now the inks that I've used, because there are quite a few inks here, I've used Cajun Craze, Early Espresso, Pumpkin Pie, Crushed Curry, and Balmy Blue. So they're all going to get a run, and obviously I need some blending brushes for those as well. So that's pretty much all the stuff, and really the only even slightly tricky part of this card is setting up and using the stencil. Now if you look here, you'll see, I'm hoping you can see on the video, that perhaps I'll use a colour, it might be easier. Okay, so you can see that the leaves, they're all there, but I wanted them to look like they were falling. So I have not just used the stencil just as is, because I wanted them all falling, and I wanted them all falling in a certain direction, and you can see the leaves are all directions here. So I've done something, I don't know, some people might say a little bit pernickety, but I've done this. So I've started with my piece of card. I'm just using that to protect my work surface. And the other thing, which is pretty essential to the making of this card, is post-it notes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one post-it note to just kind of anchor my paper. And then I'm going to go, okay, what leaf do I want in the corner out of this stencil? So I'm going to go, you know what, I think I'm going to have that leaf. So I'm going to put that leaf where I want it, which is there in the top corner. And then I'm just going to use post-it notes to separate it out from the rest and to hold the stencil in place. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to go up. Oops. There. And now I'm going to just ink blend that one. And it doesn't really matter what colour you do because you're going to use all of these autumnal colours at some point. So I'm going to start with a little bit of crushed curry. And I'm just going to stencil that one leaf. I'm just going to fill that in. And then I'm going to add in just a little bit of Cajun Craze because I think the leaves are going to look a little bit nicer if they're not just one colour. So I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to rub a bit up at the end. And then I'm just going to lift it up. So now I've got my one leaf. Now, so this is a slightly painstaking process, but actually it's not that, it isn't really that difficult to do, and it isn't really all that time consuming to do. I'll just do another one. And then I'm going to do a little bit of a speed up or an edit so that you don't have to watch me do this, because I think you've kind of got the general idea of what I'm attempting to do. So I'm just isolating out the leaves I want and positioning them to where I want them, and then giving them a stencil. And this one we might go a little bit different on. This one we might add in some bit of pumpkin pie just to cheer things up a little bit. Now, if as we're going along you see anything in the course of today's video that you'd like to add to your craft selection and you live in New Zealand, then of course you're more than welcome to shop with me, and there's a link to my online store in the video description below. So you can see now I've got two leaves. Those are fine because you actually do want it to look like the leaves are falling everywhere, not just within this confines of this little square of paper. And as you can see, what I've done is I've gone around here. I've used different colours for different leaves. So I'm just going to do all that. Okay, now once I've got the major leaves in, I'm going to go through and I'm just going to see what I've done here. I've just gone through and added in some tiny leaves. And the tiny leaves are also quite good for if you've got any little ink splodges that have managed to find themselves in the wrong place. That they are quite useful for that as well. So I'm just going to go through now and quickly add in. See, I'm just isolating that tiny leaf there with my good old post-it notes, which are now starting to get a little bit raggedy, but that's fine too. They are a quite expendable item. Okay, and then now that I've got it there, I can now just move it all around wherever I want it to go. So we'll do a little bit of a Cajun Craze one there. They can be two-toned as well. Oops, hang on, I'm going to leave that because ideally I don't want to have to mask it up every time. So I'm just going to move it. And then I'm going to place it wherever I want it now. Okay, so now I've got myself my little, my falling leaves as I wanted them. Now, obviously, depending on how you organise things will turn out differently. Yeah, your patterns will turn out differently. I added in that little leaf there because I just wanted a bit more variation. There's all these lovely little acorns, so you could go through and add in some little acorns. So you can build up your picture in whatever colours and whatever leaf fall you like. And of course, as a fallback, you can always just stencil as it is, but I wanted it a little bit differently. Okay, so now once you've done that, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the balmy blue because I wanted to create the illusion that these leaves were falling through a sky. Now, also, I have to confess that I saw a card recently by my friend Joanne James, the Crafty Owl, in which she paired up autumn colours with blue, and I go, you know what, I never thought of doing that. And it looked so good that I thought, oh, and of course it has the added effect of looking like sky. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just adding in some balmy blue, coming in from the outside, just circling in, starting off the paper so that you hopefully minimise the chances of blodges, and then just adding in the impression of a sky behind those beautiful falling leaves. Okay, so really there's a little bit of faffing around and organising the stencil how you want it, but I think it's worth it. It's actually quite a lot of fun. It's almost like you're, painting your own picture. Now, what are we going to do next? Well, what we're going to do next is we are going to take one of these Cajun Craze mats, and we are going to find where I put the glue, which is here, and we're just going to adhere that to the Cajun Craze. And when we're happy it's nice and even, we're going to just give it a bit of a press. Then I'm going to run the bone folder around just to make sure that we've got a nice smooth edge on the cut edges. Now I'm going to add in my my sentiment, but before we do that I want to add in the twine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a little piece of tape, oops, if I can get my tape to work, yeah, oops, along there, because what I'm doing is I'm creating just something which is going to temporarily hold the twine in place for me while I work out exactly where I want it to be. So, twine, ooh, I hope I've got enough for this. Right, so we're going to go holding it on there and perhaps a little bit lower down. Okay, and now I'm just going to go press, and then I'm just going to turn around. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to minimize the amount of bulk from the twine that's in behind the card. So I'm just doing like a little U-turn, tacking it into that, that Stampin' Seal there. And that's going to sort of hold it, and then I can have a look and just see a couple of things. Firstly, like, is it straight? Yeah. Is it in the right place? Is it where I want my sentiment to be? Yes, yes it is. So now I know those things, I can attach it to my card front. So I'm going to give that a nice solid crease, just a little run around to make sure the edges are smooth. Right, when I glue, I'm going to make sure that I do put glue there so that they've got the twine has got an extra support mechanism, so it's not going to fly off at an inopportune moment. Okay, so we'll pop that in there. I like how the blue kind of brings it up to life and stops it looking too sweet. Okay, I'll give that a nice press because there is a little bit of bulk there where the twine's underneath the card. Now, sentiment. I think the sentiment is going to sit there, because the other thing about doing the twine that way is it actually saves you a little bit, because you're not going all the way around front and back, so your twine just goes a little bit further. But what I like about it is it just makes the card front sit a little bit more nicely. Right, so flick off those dimensionals. Now I did put those at the edges so that there was a channel for the twine to go through. I'm going to straddle it like a bridge. Off you go, off you go, off you go. Now I'm going to line that up so I can maximise my chance of going straight. Better helps if I have it the right way around. Just going to pop it there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut myself about 20 to 25 centimetres of twine. And I'm just going to feed that under there. And then I'm going to tie my bow. So that's the other nice thing. It gives you time to faff around with the bow without worrying about what it's being tied to. And also, the other plus of doing it this way is that you can move it along the string too. If it's not in quite where you want it, you just move it along. Now, I am going to leave my bow sideways like that. On this one, it's a little bit more angled, but I kind of like it just, you know, tucked in there. If you don't want to do it that way, then by all means tie it more in the more traditional sort of a crossways way. But I've decided I would like to have mine perpendicular to the crossways. Now, the very last thing we're going to do is add in a bit of bling. Now, I used the brushed metallic adhesive backed dots, which come in 3 colours, the gold, the copper and the pewter. Oh, I was going to say my big issue was that I'm almost out of gold, but actually I have enough gold. So I thought I was going to have to choose between whether I was going to use pewter or whether I was going to use copper. And of course, actually, either of them look nice, but I think I will stick with the tried and true, and I will go with the brushed gold. Then you can just kind of work out how you're going to pleasingly arrange your 3 little bits of bling around your sentiment. And we're pretty much done. So now all I have to do is just, I'll show you what I did on the inside. I won't do it now, but I'll just show you what I did. So you'll remember that from the beginning I had a piece of Cajun Craze and a piece of basic white. They were for the inside, and so all I've done is I have taken that decorative mask and I just taped it using post-it notes to my piece of paper that for my inside piece, and then I've just stenciled in the various colours and then removed the stencil, and you get a nice little line of autumnal beauty along the bottom. Anyway, that was my Abundant Beauty's sympathy card. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope that you'll give it a try yourself. I'm always happy to answer questions, and I can be reached through the details in the video description below or in the end card, which is about to pop up. If you live in New Zealand and you've seen anything that you would like to add to your craft stash, then please shop with me. There's a link to my online store in those places too, video description and in the end card. If you've liked what you've seen and you haven't subscribed to me, please do so you don't miss anything new that I do. And above all else, everyone, happy stamping.